happy to once again facilitate this conversation.
Awesome. We are lucky to have you again. So thank you, Lorna, for joining us today. And so both Lorna and I are with Food Smart. We also have Katie here with us helping out today. She'll be in the chat. Just as a reminder, Food Smart is a nutrition education and support company who, we're committed to connecting people with nutrition resources, including a personal dietitian and daily tools to make eating well simple and affordable. So today, we're going to be diving into a topic that I'm sure a lot of us have heard about, but maybe have a hard time describing, and that is superfoods. So, superfoods, that term, and the foods themselves, that comes up a lot in headlines in the supplement industry. There are sometimes entire diets centered around a single food. So, they're an important thing to talk about when we are talking about nutrition. But we want to make sure that we understand what they are, first of all, why they are considered to be super, importantly, how to kind of sift fact from fiction and understand what we should be paying attention to, and how to incorporate those into your diet in a way that enhances overall health and well-being. So that is what we are going to be diving into today. Great. So before we jump in, as usual, I want to let you know that by attending the webinar today, you will have a chance to win your choice of a $250 prize. So either a $250 Amazon gift card or both a Fitbit and a glass meal prep set from Williams Sonoma. So all you have to do is book an initial or a follow-up visit with a dietitian by August 1st. You have a couple days, and use the code from this webinar, code SUPER. Katie is dropping it into the chat. Thanks, Katie. And visits cost as low as $0 depending on your health insurance. So really encourage you all to just take a second and book a visit, take a look, using the link in the chat, and of course, reach out if you have any questions while you're scheduling. Great. So on the agenda today, we are going to review how to define superfoods, including what components superfoods usually have in them. We will take a look at some superfoods that we know the most about, as well as some that we don't quite have as much research on. And then Lorna will share some examples of kinds of foods that you may want to incorporate alongside practical tips for supercharging your diet. All right, so what makes a superfood? Let's get into it. So, by definition, and very simply, superfoods are nutrient-rich foods that are considered especially beneficial for health and well-being. So they are an outlier of sorts from sort of a maybe it might be a typical food or a food that is less nutritious, and they are packed with nutritional density. So they have a high concentration of things like vitamins, minerals, or non-nutritive components. We'll get into this more in a sec, but things like antioxidants, phytochemicals, adaptogens, basically anything that we know to be good for us. Another piece of criteria is they have a unique combination of these nutrients beyond, again, what is typical. So maybe instead of having like a couple of vitamins, maybe they've got a bunch, as well as antioxidants, as well as phytonutrients and chemicals. So they're really a dense source of this nutrition. Um, in addition to what they're made of, they confer some sort of health benefit. So they are scientifically proven to support health, prevent disease, and improve overall well-being. And then importantly, what we're talking about today is our superfoods are natural sources. So not talking about supplements or hyper concentrated versions of like a vitamin or an antioxidant powder of sorts. We're talking about whole unprocessed foods that are found in nature. So that's what we want to focus on for this conversation today when we're looking at what which superfoods we might want to pay attention to. All right. So looking at the benefits of superfoods a little bit more closely, they, like we talked about, contain this high concentration of nutrients, and they're this dense source that may be lacking in a standard diet. And because of this, they can impact disease prevention, maybe reduce the risk of chronic diseases such as heart disease, cancer, diabetes. They can also improve just your overall, well-being, improve energy levels, mood, overall health. And one important note here that I want you to just remember as we're going through this conversation today is that while we are going to be looking at individual foods and even components of foods, it's not necessarily the individual food per se that we want to focus a lot on, but it's getting a combination of a lot of these super nutritious foods where the magic really kind of is. So, looking to have a dietary pattern or looking at your whole diet that consists of an abundance of these kinds of foods, and that's where we're really going to see big changes in overall health. So, just something to keep in mind as we're going through and we're really laser focusing in on some of these specific foods to pull yourself back out and say, well, blueberries are really great. Like, obviously, we don't only eat blueberries. And so just making sure that blueberries, we can fit those in, as well as lots of other superfoods that Lorna will share with us later on. So before we pull back out, we are going to zoom in a little bit further and talk about what are these components of superfoods that make them so important. So often we refer to everything we eat as nutrients, right? But nutrients actually have a technical definition, and that can be helpful to understand when we're talking about this topic of superfoods. So nutrients are going to be substances that are found in our food that are essential for growth, development, and the maintenance of life. And they provide energy, they repair body tissues, they regulate bodily processes, and they're things that we have to consume to sustain life and to be well. So they're not something that necessarily our body can make in enough quantity. So it's important that we get them through our diet. The other component here is what we're calling non-nutritive components. Now, I know these terms are a little bit close together, sometimes confusing, but they are things that aren't technically a nutrient, that maybe they're not necessary for life per se, but they are found in foods and they've been shown to have some sort of health effect. So it's basically everything else in food. And the main components here we're going to talk about are something called phytochemicals and antioxidants. But other examples are things like probiotics or fiber or things that we talk about a lot, but they're not necessarily necessary for life. So the first key nutrient are vitamins. Vitamins are organic compounds that our body needs in small amounts to function correctly. Like I said, they're essential because our body cannot produce them, or they can't produce them in enough quantities, and so we must get them from our diet. So vitamins are separated into what's called fat soluble and water soluble, which relates to many things, including their function, but also how they're absorbed when we eat them. So our fat soluble vitamins are vitamins A, D, E, and K, and our water soluble ones are vitamin C and all of our B vitamins. And you may notice some words that perhaps you recognize, like folate or biotin. These are B vitamins. Sometimes they're referred both by their common name or more so than, their technical kind of B6 type of name. Another notable difference between fat and water-soluble vitamins is that fat-soluble vitamins can bioaccumulate, meaning that you can have too many of them, whereas water-soluble vitamins do not. So something to keep in mind if you're, thinking about, can I have too much of the vitamin? If it's vitamin D, yes, that's potentially possible. Vitamin B, not so much. So something interesting there. So vitamins perform many critical functions, a few of which I've listed here: immune support, skin health, vision, blood clot, so much more. The list is really extremely long. So then we have minerals. It's another essential nutrient. It's inorganic. So there are 15 minerals that have been found to be essential. We have calcium, phosphorus, potassium, sodium, chloride, magnesium, iron, zinc, iodine, sulfur, cobalt, copper, fluoride, manganese, and selenium. It's a mouthful. Some of these function as electrolytes. So you've probably seen like sodium, chloride, magnesium. Others like iron are important for blood or bone in the case of calcium. Again, just like vitamins, they have many, 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 too many to list here, critical functions in our body. And so those are going to be the primary nutrients that we're talking about, vitamins and minerals. Then we have our first non-nutritive component. Phytochemicals, also sometimes referred to as phytonutrients. Chemicals here just to try to keep our definitions clean. But there are thousands of these. They have really interesting, sometimes very important functions in the body, and they confer health benefits. So some of the well-known categories include things like flavonoids, carotenoids, it's found in carrots, it's easy to remember, polyphenols, it's found in tea and dark chocolate, Garlic has a component called allicin. And really, these are things that like either within traditional knowledge have been used for lots of years to, again, confer health benefits. Maybe they aren't as widely studied, but they're things that we discover all the time. So it's like, we know something about garlic helps with antibacterial issues or has those properties. And so that's studied and that becomes something we call as like a phytonutrient or some sort of phytochemical that confers nutritive benefits in the body. So really interesting category. Lots to get into here. So speaking of antioxidants, this is a noteworthy component of superfoods. It's a class of sorts of phytochemicals. Um, and it's important to mention on their own, given their influence on inflammation, which is pervasive across many different health conditions. So our bodies are exposed to something called free radicals every single day. That can be from certain types of food to stress to environmental pollutants. Free radicals are essentially like little chaotic molecules that are unstable and highly reactive. They are, to give you a little peek in the science, they're missing an electron. And so what they want to do is grab a bunch of electrons from anything that they can. So when they're in our body, they go around wreaking havoc, stealing electrons, which then creates more free radicals. And it's the condition that's called oxidative stress, which leads to inflammation, which is a component of chronic disease. So antioxidants have this really extra special property where they can neutralize these free radicals. So they minimize oxidative stress. They can also, and they prevent that cascade effect that I just described. So really cool little guys. They're high in many fruits and vegetables. Interestingly, purple colored foods can indicate a higher concentration of antioxidants, and actually color in general, if you're thinking about, eating the rainbow, which is something you hear often in nutrition, that's a cue, a visual cue to ensure that you're getting a wide variety of all of these antioxidants, phytochemicals, vitamins, minerals, all of these things. And then lastly, we have a little bit of a combination category, adaptogens and herbs. So starting with adaptogens, they are a unique class of herbs and mushrooms that help the body adapt to stress. They can help you improve your overall resilience. They can help you restore balance, and this, support the body's ability to cope with physical, chemical, and biological stressors. Some examples of these that are really popular. You see a lot of these, like, again, not talking about supplements per se, but you see them as supplements. Ashwagandha, tulsi, rhodiola, maca powder. Again, they're helpful for stress reduction and basically help you adapt to, as is indicated by the name, your environment and be more resilient. Second to that, we have herbs. Herbs are a really wide class of plants or parts of plants, including the leaves, the flowers, seeds, bark, and roots. And these are utilized in various forms. So you might find them dried as extracts, as oils. They're used for just their flavor and sometimes scent in cooking, but they can also have therapeutic properties. So these are common: echinacea for a cold, ginger for an upset stomach, chamomile for sleep, peppermint for headaches, turmeric for inflammation or minor aches and pains. And this is a good example of something that started with like a really traditional use and knowledge that we have since studied and learned, oh, okay, now we understand why, ginger is helpful for an upset stomach or turmeric for inflammation. There are components in there that we understand now using science that help and interact with our bodies to confer these beneficial properties. So herbs are really interesting. Lots of different uses. I will say you want to be aware with herbs of potential interactions, and sometimes they can interfere with medications or certain health conditions, or be unsafe during pregnancy. So working with your provider or a dietitian is a really good idea before taking herbs for therapeutic use. But generally, though, this is referring to that higher therapeutic dose, but they're fine generally to use just in cooking and really, small amounts. All right. So that was a lot of science in a short amount of time. So please, if you have questions on any of that, drop them in the chat. And we'll come back to that at the end. But want to spend a second just while we're on the topic of science, looking at what we know and what we don't know. So we've discussed the different properties of superfoods, we've defined them. But it's important to orient around what the research says about some of the common superfoods versus one where we have more limited research or, again, only kind of traditional knowledge there. So, looking at the current research, superfoods that have been proven efficacious generally have a considerable nutrition profile that has been linked to positive health outcomes of some kind. And so when we're evaluating this, we want to be sure that the research is robust, ideally indicating some sort of causal relationship, which is hard to achieve in research, but the gold standard would be a randomized controlled trial that says, okay, the consumption of X thing induces some specific health benefit. If that's unavailable, even correlative research, meaning we show some correlation or relationship between consumption of a certain food and some sort of beneficial outcome, we want to make sure that that exists. And ideally, the more the better, as far as like number and types of studies. So looking at some superfoods that are well documented, we have blueberries. So those are rich in antioxidants, particularly something called anthocyanins. Again, you don't have to remember that. You can just remember I need to eat blue and purple foods because they have this helpful thing. But they produce or improve cognitive function. And also can protect against heart disease. They're antioxidant rich, lots of really great benefits there. Then we have salmon. So salmon is high in omega-3 fatty acids, which are really important for heart and brain health. They also provide a high quality of protein, as well as fats, vitamin D, B12. So again, thinking about the definition of a superfood, a food that has a lot of these different properties kind of jam-packed into one thing. Then we have quinoa, so for the similar reason, and Lorna will get into protein more deeply here in a sec, but quinoa is a complete protein, a complete plant source of protein containing all 9 essential amino acids, which is hard to find in the plant world. They are high in fiber, magnesium, antioxidants as well. So again, really, really super food. Green tea. Green tea is a more commonly known one. Specifically, they contain something called catechins. EGCG is a particular one, and they have a really powerful antioxidant effect. They can also be anti-inflammatory. So green tea is a fantastic superfood. And then turmeric, I touched on that a bit ago as far as an herb. Turmeric's a root, but it contains this component called curcumin, which has this potent anti-inflammatory and antioxidant property. So those are a couple that have a pretty robust amount of research around them. So something you can feel pretty confident in. Next, looking at a few other superfoods where we have less certainty, either because there hasn't really been studied or the research is inconclusive or ongoing. So while these superfoods are popular and have some preliminary evidence suggesting the potential health benefits, the scientific support is not quite as strong as commonly believed. So that means more studies might be needed, or different kinds of studies. So in general, also, we tend to have limitations when it comes to really all nutrition, but specifically superfoods, sometimes around the long-term effects. So studies only last so long, so sometimes long-term data is hard to come by. Optimal dosage can be unclear, so understanding the exact amount needed to achieve the benefits. Interactions, this is a very hard thing to study because if you think about research, you're studying one thing, usually in isolation, so that you can get that really good quality data. But in reality, people are eating these things with all kinds of other foods and medications and drinks and all sorts of things. So it's really hard to understand like if something looks a certain way in a really finite environment, what does this actually look like in real life? And then health claims. So some foods, maybe include these components that we know to be good, but could have some lack of clarity around what the actual health impact is. So just to look at a couple of those foods that we have less certainty about, acai berries are one. So they are promoted for their high antioxidant content. So we know that they have that high antioxidant content, but it's really we have a lack of understanding about what that means for our health. So some studies have shown weight loss, some studies have shown they're beneficial for anti-aging. Again, we know antioxidants in isolation can be good for these things, but acai berries specifically have not a ton of research around. The next one is coconut oil. Mixed studies on coconut oil. So coconut oil is an interesting one. It's come in and out of popularity in the last like decade or so. I've seen it promoted for weight loss, for heart health, for brain function. And while again, coconut oil has some of these beneficial properties like MCTs or medium chain triglycerides, some of these claims are not super supported by evidence. And then also because it's a really high source of saturated fat, the AHA, American Heart Association, advises some caution with coconut oil for folks who are concerned about that, just given that content. Next, we have aloe vera. So, aloe vera is widely studied topically. It's good for your skin. It can help. We all know it for sunburn. But there's been, mixed reviews and kind of not a ton of research around internal consumption. So those claims can be less supported, but it's claimed to aid in digestion, potentially boost the immune system, promote skin health. Again, yes, topically, but uncertain internally. Um, and then lastly, chlorella. Chlorella is like a plant algae. It's really rich in nutrients. But again, there's a lot of claims around detoxification where, maybe, we see these things in isolation can be supportive of our internal detoxification systems, but sometimes the way that it is framed or marketed around like a detox supplement is not quite supported by the science. So just ones as you're kind of sifting through the world of superfoods and claims and marketing, just ones to be aware of. And speaking of that, let's take a second just to like talk about how we can stay informed and also be critical of some of these claims. So, let's say you see a headline, coffee, a cancer curing superfood. These headlines are all over the place all the time. Or coffee is really bad, or coffee is amazing. Like, first of all, be critical, be very critical of headlines. As someone who works in marketing, I know, we do things to sell a product sometimes, right? And so, that's the goal of a newspaper or a magazine, or um, it sometimes takes a piece out of a larger conversation just to make a claim that is a headline grabbing, statement, but can't always be taken at face value. So when you see a headline like that, ask yourself, one, does it sound too good to be true? If coffee really cured cancer, I think we'd hear a lot more about it. And if it does sound too good to be true, maybe dig a little bit deeper. Ask yourself, is there robust and current research to support this claim? Um, is the research at a population level? So, for example, like the blue zones, there's a documentary on this. It's a well-studied um, phenomenon of like these blue zones in the world where people eat lots of coffee or consume lots of coffee and like have lots of longevity and good health. Like those studies are valid, but they're at a population level. And so if they are, making an individual claim is not quite correct. Ask yourself, is the research, again, related to that, showing a causal relationship, or is there just a correlation here? And remember, one study is definitely not enough, and not all studies are created equally. So, say you do all that, say the research seems to check out, what are the risks, right? So, evaluate your own personal needs and limitations. For example, do you have health conditions, or are on certain medications or have allergies where like this specific recommendation might not be right for you? And then again, if all of the above checks out, like consider how you might reasonably incorporate some of these foods. And a lot of this is hard to sift through. I know I'm talking a lot about research, which is, not your average person's like Saturday afternoon activity. So when in doubt, chat about it with your dietitian. They stay up to date on the latest research so that you don't have to. And most importantly, they can help interpret it against your personal needs and limitations and make those recommendations that are right for you. So a really great resource when you're out in the world seeing these things and you're kind of unsure about what to do with it. All right, and with that, that was kind of all the science bits, and I will turn it over to Lorna to get into categories of superfoods and some practical tips for incorporating them.
Thanks, Lindsay. This is actually a great time to transition. As you were speaking there, what I heard you ending with is saying, use wisdom. as you make choices, as you hear more about our phytochemicals and non-nutritive components of foods that have been linked to the health benefits. I wanted to just transition in saying that one of the things that has really held through historically has been garlic. Even before we got into the research and all of these things, garlic has been used for thousands and thousands of years in ancient Egypt, Greece, Rome, Japan, China, and the grandmothers of the world who just observed that there was something special about garlic. Even in the world wars, World War One and Two, garlic was actually given to soldiers to help prevent gangrene, and also used as an antiseptic to help heal wounds, etc. So that was one. Now we have all the studies behind it, and we know, the specific components contained within garlic that give it these effects. But again, use wisdom as you find out more about these components, and as you see claims and hear about claims being made on a daily basis, check check into the research with a fine-tooth comb, see who's putting out the research, and again, use wisdom. Um, so I am actually going to be covering categories of superfoods. Now that we've heard a lot of the science that we have behind it and limitations. And there are so many categories. There are numerous categories of superfoods. So I'm actually going to take them category by category. And the first that I want to introduce would be fruits as superfoods. And as Lindsay had mentioned earlier, fruits as superfoods, they are packed with essential vitamins, minerals, fiber, plant compounds called phytochemicals. And these nutritive and non-nutritive compounds contribute to their status as superfoods. Um, Antioxidant properties of these foods help them reduce cellular damage caused by free radicals, and therefore they may actually lower the risk of various diseases and conditions. Um, Regular consumption of fruits has been associated, and I use the word associated because the studies that were done actually were more correlation type studies, but there is an association with reduction in risk for chronic health conditions such as heart disease and certain cancers with increased regular consumption of fruit. Now, the good thing about fruit, I really like to get into the practical aspects of things. When it comes to fruit as a superfood, there are a variety of options. There are numerous foods that are considered superfoods, including our berries, strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, citrus fruit, notably grapefruit, kiwi, apples, avocados, and grapes. And there are some actual specific health benefits that different fruits offer uniquely. For instance, studies have shown blueberries, and Lindsay had mentioned blueberries in her section. Blueberries are linked to reduced risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and slower rates of mental decline in older adults, as per some more recent studies. Grapefruit is high in vitamin C, beta carotene, lycopene, and therefore it confers those antioxidant benefits, some of which Lindsay had mentioned. Avocados may help with weight reduction, blood sugar levels, and heart disease risk factors. Now, the great things about fruits as superfoods would be the versatility. Fruits can be consumed in so many different forms, so we can get them fresh, frozen, dried, and they still provide the same health benefits. For those of us who are concerned about the environment, Local options are usually best. While some of the most popular superfoods or superfruits come from tropical regions of the world, there are local fruit options that should be considered. And of course, it helps support sustainability and it provides an eco-friendly um, type of consumption. Now, when incorporating these fruits into the diet of superfoods, it is very important to consume variety. Okay, one of those characteristics of a healthy diet, variety. A variety of fruit to benefit from all the diverse nutrient profiles. So again, in conjunction with what Lindsay had said earlier in a different way, is that no one fruit that we pinpoint as a superfood or a superfruit is a magic bullet. It really takes a well-balanced incorporating variety into the diet for you to get these effects, for you to observe these effects. Now, the next category would be vegetables as superfoods. And vegetables are considered superfoods due to their high nutrient density again and these potential health benefits. Now, some key vegetables that I want to highlight, and these are frequently labeled as superfoods, would be our group of dark green leafy vegetables. So vegetables like kale and Swiss chard and collard greens, spinach, turnip greens. These dark green leafy vegetables are excellent sources of nutrients and are actually at the top of the superfood list. Now, why? They specifically contain things like folate. We know that folate, by way of studies, uh, is implicated in neural tube defects when there's a deficiency. So it's imperative to have women of childbearing ages have a diet that's adequate in folate. These dark green leafy vegetables also provide zinc, calcium, iron, magnesium, vitamin C, and fiber. So again, right at the top of the list. Cruciferous vegetables, that's another interesting and powerful group of veggies that can be considered in the superfoods category, again, for their nutritional value and potential health benefits. Now, the cruciferous vegetables are particularly rich in sulfur-containing compounds known as glucosinolates. And just a fun fact about them, these vegetables got their name from the fact that the four petals on their flowers, they make the shape of a cross. So hence cruciferous. These vegetables are like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, radishes, turnips, and again, a very powerful group of vegetables implicated in prevention of certain types of cancers. Now, there are some other vegetable superfoods um, considered as superfoods due to their nutritional profiles as well. And this would include things like beets, sweet potatoes, artichokes, carrots, parsnips, and some people as well include potatoes and yams. And even though those are starchy vegetables, right under the skin, it's loaded with vitamins. So again, that's the rationale for inclusion there. Now, the next category, next large category of superfoods would be grains and seeds as superfoods. Now, grains and seeds are rich sources of a variety of nutrients, protein, hemp seeds in particular. They are a complete protein source containing all the essential amino acids. These grains and seeds are rich sources of fiber, many seeds, including chia and flax, They are excellent sources of dietary fiber, so they play a role in digestion and promoting feeling of fullness. So by promoting feelings of fullness, they actually become a really great tool in weight management. Healthy fats. So again, seeds like flax seeds, chia seeds are very high in omega-3 fatty acids, and particularly alpha linoleic acid, or ALA. In addition, loaded with vitamins and minerals, particularly our B complex vitamins, and magnesium, manganese, and iron. So generally, great nutritional value from grains and seeds, and the rationale for them being considered in the group of superfoods. Now, in terms of health benefits, incorporating grains and seeds into your diet can contribute to numerous health improvements. Based on the research that we have out there, and we know, as Lindsay pointed out, some things we still need to know more about, but they have been implicated in heart health. Consumption of whole grains and seeds have been linked to reduction in risk for heart disease, for example. Blood sugar control. Chia seeds, for example, have been shown to lower blood sugar levels. Weight management, as I mentioned before, because of the fiber content and the feelings of satiety that they produce, they become a really great aid in weight control. Antioxidant properties. Many seeds contain polyphenols and other antioxidants that again help protect against cellular damage. So they function as antioxidants. Now, again, like fruits, like vegetables, there is a lot of versatility by utilizing these grains and seeds in the diet. They can be easily incorporated into numerous dishes, from salads, adding them in salads, topping salads with them, making soups with them, baked goods, and even smoothies. So there's lots of versatilities. They're easy to utilize. Now, some of the popular grains and seeds that are considered superfoods would be, as I mentioned earlier, flax, chia, hemp, quinoa, and amaranth. Now, by incorporating these nutrient-dense grains and seeds into your diet, you can actually boost your intake of essential nutrients and potentially improve various aspects of your health. Now, one caution again, as I said, with the fruit, and even with the vegetables, they actually have the impact that they have when they are taken together, you know, when their portion control is applied, when the concept of adequacy is applied, variety, balance, etc. And so no one food like flax or chia seeds or quinoa, none of them can really wear the crown as, the magic bullet. So again, just want to emphasize that as we go along. Now, nuts and legumes as superfoods. Nuts and legumes have indeed been considered superfoods due to their impressive nutritional profiles as well and the health benefits. Now, nuts are nutrient dense. They're packed with healthy fats, protein, fiber, vitamins, and minerals. And some of the key benefits that we see from utilizing nuts in the way that they're recommended as part of an overall healthy diet. They're rich in heart healthy monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats. So it brings those benefits. It's a good source of plant-based protein. High in fiber, as I said. So again, conferring the feeling of fullness, being a great tool also in weight management. It helps aid in digestion. Contains essential vitamins and minerals like vitamin E And again, vitamin E is one of our antioxidant vitamins. Vitamin A is one of our antioxidant vitamins that we find in all of these foods naturally. Vitamins A, vitamin C, and vitamin E, ACE. That's our natural antioxidant vitamins. Now, also contained here would be magnesium, phosphorus, copper, manganese, and selenium. Selenium is one of our natural antioxidant minerals that we find a lot in nuts, etc. And particularly Brazil nuts are extremely rich in selenium. Now, these nuts as superfoods possess anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties, as you would imagine, and may help reduce risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and certain cancers. And as I mentioned earlier again, can be a really great weight management aid by promoting satiety. Now, I've separated out legumes, although I've put them in the same category. Our legumes, which would include beans and lentils and peas, these are also considered superfoods due to their impressive nutritional value. Excellent source of plant-based protein, high in dietary fiber, rich in vitamins and minerals, again, like folate, iron, potassium, magnesium, low in fat, again, containing antioxidant and anti-inflammatory compounds, and may help. I'm using may because a lot of studies around these have been correlational studies. There's still more to be learned about a lot of our superfoods. May help reduce risk of heart disease, diabetes, and certain cancers. A great support for healthy weight management and blood sugar control. And again, for those of us who are concerned about the environment, it offers sustainability and an environmentally friendly protein source. So some of our top legume superfoods include black beans, chickpea, lentils, soybeans, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm sorry, I actually was thinking in my mind about Brazil nuts, but I did nuts before. Yeah, so as I said, include black beans, chickpeas, lentils, soybeans, and peanuts as well, which is typically a legume. Okay, now I'm going to move on to proteins as superfoods. And I've separated them out, even though some of what I talked about, like the nuts and the legumes, etc., they are protein rich. But I thought that proteins as superfoods deserve some attention. Now, proteins are indeed considered superfoods due to their essential role in our body's functions and overall health. There are several benefits of protein-rich foods. Proteins, and one of the reasons I am usually concerned when I hear people really lowering their carbohydrate intake is because I want to make sure that they are sparing protein for all of these important functions in the body so it wouldn't be broken down unnecessarily. So the thing is, utilize adequate complex carbohydrates. Even in the list of superfoods that I've done so far, I've addressed so far, there are numerous complex carbohydrates there that add to a very healthy diet. But getting back to proteins as superfoods, they support muscle growth and repair at whatever age of the life cycle. They aid in tissue regeneration, help in the production of enzymes and hormones, very important functions, promote feelings of fullness as well in satiety, therefore supporting weight management, and they assist in maintaining a healthy immune system. Now, what are the top protein-rich superfoods that we can highlight? Eggs come at the top of the list. eggs, they constitute a versatile and complete protein source containing all 9 essential amino acids. Now, there's some caution around eggs because, of course, the yolk um, is very nutrient dense, but it contains cholesterol. And so, when we're working with patients and clients, it's always good to point out that you can, up the egg white, which is complete, and, utilize less of the yolk. But nevertheless, egg is a complete protein source containing all of the 9 essential amino acids. Lean meats, so chicken breast, turkey, lean beef, they are all considered high quality protein if you consume a diet where you utilize meats and red meats, etc. They are actually very good sources of the B vitamins, the B complex vitamins like thiamine, for instance. They provide zinc and selenium as well. Fish, such as salmon, tuna, and halibut, are not only rich in protein, but they also provide omega-3 fatty acids and other important nutrients. Then we have our dairy products, of course, which we can as well utilize substitutes for them, like almond milk, etc. But things like Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, and and milk, they do offer protein along with other nutrients such as calcium and other minerals. Now, I did address the plant-based options, which I like to emphasize. So I'm still going to mention them here again. The plant-based options, the protein, lentils, beans, nuts, seeds, again, provide protein along with fiber and various micronutrients. So there are many minerals that are also found in them. And quinoa is also a complete plant-based protein source that also offers fiber and these other essential minerals that I mentioned. Now, Lindsay had mentioned a little bit about herbs and given some cautions, etc. I would like to actually highlight some of them that have been used historically and continue to be used. As a matter of fact, herbs and spices have gained recognition as superfoods due to the potent health benefits and the high concentration of beneficial compounds that are found within them. So some of the key herbs and spices that we can consider as superfoods include cinnamon, and what a lovely thing to add to your oatmeal and your cream of wheat and other things, to baked sweet potato. There's so many great uses of cinnamon. This popular spice has powerful anti-diabetic effects, helping to lower blood sugar levels by 10 to 29% in diabetic patients. It also has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. And while I'm on this, I also want to mention that Lindsay and I have provided within the appendix links to numerous studies, etc., that you can go back to following the webinar. Uh, Turmeric contains curcumin, a compound with strong anti-inflammatory effects that may also be as effective as medications, it's some medications. It's commonly found in yellow curry. That's something that I grew up eating. It was one of our national dishes, curry, whether it's curry chickpea, curry potato, curry chicken, whatever you had. But again, one of the potent antioxidants. Ginger is effective in treating various types of nausea, including morning sickness and chemotherapy-induced nausea as well. It also has anti-inflammatory properties and can help with pain management. Garlic that I started off with, um, is now known to contain prebiotic fibers that feed good gut bacteria and may have anti-cancer properties. It is also known for potentially promoting heart health and lowering blood pressure. It's also been implicated in cholesterol as well, lowering uh, bad cholesterol. Cayenne pepper may help reduce appetite, increase fat burning, and stimulate nerves in the stomach for injury protection. Some studies also suggest it may help reduce uh, stomach cancers from forming. Sage shows promise in improving brain function and memory, especially in individuals with Alzheimer's disease. Now, peppermint often is used to improve pain management, as Lindsay had mentioned, and it's also used in irritable bowel syndrome to manage pain of IBS. Rosemary contains compounds that may help improve digestion and memory as well. Oregano is rich in antioxidants and may have antimicrobial properties. And then thyme, and there's varieties of thyme. There's a very thin leaf thyme, and there's the broader leaf thyme. But nevertheless, those are herbs that are high in antioxidants and have potential health benefits. Now, as Lindsay had cautioned, it's very, very important to be careful. There are a range of health benefits that have been associated with numerous herbs and spices, from supporting gut health to promoting antioxidant activity and fighting inflammation. But again, as the wisdom around all of this is to incorporate this as all part of a balanced diet that contributes to overall wellness and that can potentially help to prevent chronic disease, but not to look at any one of these herbs and spices as a magic bullet. Now, the last category that I wanted to address is beverages as superfoods. Now, superfood beverages are drinks that offer exceptional nutritional benefits and can contribute to overall health and wellness. And some examples that should be considered are things like green smoothies. These drinks typically combine leafy green vegetables like kale and spinach, and can combine it with fruit and other nutritious ingredients. Green smoothies are rich in vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. Turmeric drinks, such as golden milk or turmeric lattes, they're known for their anti-inflammatory properties. There are even smoothies that have been made utilizing turmeric, and by blending things like coconut milk, banana, pineapple, and adding powdered turmeric to the drink. Then berry smoothies, which are my favorites. Those are packed with antioxidants and vitamins. Can be made with a variety of berries, your choice, or you can blend them together, strawberries, blueberries, etc. But what they actually do is to comprise a very nutrient-dense drink option that can be offered to anyone in the family. Kefir and yogurt based drinks are fermented beverages and also excellent sources of probiotics, protein, and calcium that help support gut health and provide essential nutrients. And then chia seed drinks are some that can be made as well. Beet juice is another. Coconut water considered. What I do like about coconut water is that it can definitely be used in hydrating. It contains electrolytes, and it makes it a good choice for replenishing fluids. There are some superfood coffee blends, and Lindsay had cautioned a little bit about some of these products that are out there. I don't think that they actually contain anything more than you would get from if you blended your coffee and did it at home. So again, the caution is when incorporating these beverages into your diet, it's important to consider your individual needs, any potential allergies or sensitivities, medications that you might be on, etc. And that goes for the herbs, the spices, uh, any of these superfoods that you want to be cautious because sometimes they are nutrient interactions. They're nutrient substance interactions. They're nutrient medication interactions. So you really do have to be very careful with them and just everything in moderation, everything incorporate as part of a wellness package. Okay, so the next step um, in this, the next step in this actually is how do we incorporate superfoods into our diet? And so I want to start off by offering some practical tips. I kind of live and breathe for translating the science and the observations and the studies into what do we do, the practical aspects. And so 14 practical tips for adding superfoods to meals including things like berries in breakfast, uh, topping oatmeal or yogurt with berries, adding things like green leafy vegetables to salads or smoothies. Greek yogurt can be used as a substitute for sour cream. The seeds and nuts that I mentioned can be sprinkled onto dishes, desserts, etc. Olive oil can be used both in cooking and as a dressing with some lemon juice. Avocado can be added to sandwiches or salads. I've actually recently discovered a really enjoyable avocado sandwich um, uh, consisting of chipotle chicken and then the avocado on top. It's the most delicious sandwich I've had. Quinoa can replace rice and pasta in many recipes. Fermented foods, you can try things like kimchi or kefir. Spirulina can be added in small amounts in smoothies. Um, Nuts, again, can be used for snacking on. Of course, you would want to utilize the unsalted varieties. Mushrooms, a very great meat substitute in many dishes, including if you're doing spaghetti and instead of meat sauce, you can do it with mushrooms. Um, Green tea, a great replacement for sugary drinks. And those cruciferous veggies that I talked about that have been implicated in reducing cancer risks, cancer development, those can be roasted as a side dish in many meals. And of course, then we have our superfood smoothies, which consist of a blend of fruits and greens. Now, I wanted to go a step further and actually provide some delicious and easy meals. And so I want to make reference again to the links in the appendix. There's one particular slide, which is an appendix slide, but it says easy superfood recipes with several links. They're numerous, but just wanted to just give a couple of examples here. Uh, Something like salmon with mango citrus salsa. This dish combines omega-3 rich salmon with a vibrant salsa made from antioxidant-packed mango and citrus fruit. And the recipe is very simple to prepare, and it offers a perfect balance of flavors and nutrition. Okay, there is, and actually, I am showing the salmon and mango citrus salsa just as an example, but again, would like to refer you to the numerous recipes within the appendix that are easy meals where you can utilize all of these superfoods that we've talked about. Uh, Kale and Brussels sprout salad. This superfood packed salad features nutrient dense kale and Brussels sprouts, which are high in vitamins and fiber. And the salad can be made ahead of time. And it tastes even better after sitting in the refrigerator for a little while. Sweet potato, corn, and black bean hash. This one for one, it's colorful, so it invites the senses. It's a colorful hash, um, combining vitamin A rich sweet potato with fiber filled black beans and corn. And it's also budget friendly and it's a nutritious meal that's easy to prepare. Okay. There are other things like overnight chia oatmeal. Again, that can be made ahead. Like a breakfast pudding. It's packed with protein and fiber from chia seeds and oatmeals, and it's a great way to actually begin the day. Things like sheet pan, sesame, salmon, and broccoli. You're preparing this meal in one sheet pan, and it features again the omega-3 rich salmon with vitamin C packed broccoli, and it's an easy and a quick way to get a healthy dinner on the table. Things like blueberry ginger muffins. These are hearty muffins that combine the antioxidant rich blueberries with the anti inflammatory ginger. And they're a tasty way to incorporate superfoods into a grab and go breakfast or snack. Uh, Soups. That's another way that we can showcase these superfoods. Kale and lentil soup, as one example. This comforting soup combines the iron-rich lentils with nutrient-dense kale, and it's a hearty and healthy meal that's perfect for cooler weather. So when you have those days that you want something warm, makes a really great nutrient-dense soup. Again, want to point you out to the easy superfood recipes that are within the appendix. Okay. Now, protein, I wanted to just highlight a little more incorporating protein superfoods into the diet. I thought it deserved a little more attention. To increase protein intake, and I'm by no way suggesting that protein is a problem within the United States. If anything, I think sometimes we overconsume. But for persons who may need to increase protein intake, include a protein source with each meal. These are strategies for making sure that you have the adequate amounts that you need. Include a protein source with each meal. Opt for things like Greek yogurt or cottage cheese as a high protein snack. Um, Add nuts or seeds to salads or smoothies, as I mentioned earlier. Choose lean meats or fish as your main protein source, and then experiment with all those plant-based proteins that are laden with nutrients, like lentils and tofu, to include them in your meals and experiment with them in various recipes. Now, in terms of protein recommendation, it's recommended that for healthy adults, protein should be consumed 0.36 grams per pound of body weight, which translates to 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. However, for active individuals, they may require more, ranging from 0.54 to 0.9 grams per pound of body weight, translating into 1.2 to 2 grams per kilogram. This may also be increased in persons who have certain conditions or diseases. But the one thing that I recommend is never to try to up these your intake with consult a dietitian, consult your primary care person with the help of a dietitian in terms of getting this straight. Um, Again, remember to maintain a balanced diet that includes other essential nutrients, healthy fats, and fiber for optimal health. Now, it would not be me if I do not end off by offering some actual tips, meal planning and preparation strategies around superfoods. Okay, and so I want to do this because I feel that by offering some of these strategies, it can help persons incorporate these nutrient-dense foods into the diet more effectively in a way that's time friendly and cost friendly. Okay, so some key strategies to consider. First of all, is planning a menu. It's always great to start off by creating a weekly menu that incorporates a variety of superfoods. So again, in creating this menu, consider the following tips. Check your refrigerator and pantry to see what superfoods are already on hand, and use portion planners to ensure that you're including the right amount of superfoods in your meals and recipes. Think about using superfoods in multiple ways throughout the day and throughout the week so that you can maximize their use and minimize waste as well. Collect healthy recipes that feature these superfoods and save them for future reference. Again, I refer you to the links that have been provided for a wide selection in the appendix. Secondly, smart shopping is always a great key. When shopping for superfoods, keep the following strategies in mind. Buy locally sourced superfoods from farmers markets or local groceries. Of course, there's reduction in the time that they have been transported. It also, for those of us who are environmental conscious, it also reduces transportation emissions and supports local farmers. Um, it's good sometimes to purchase superfoods in bulk to help save money and reduce packaging waste, but keep in mind that some superfoods will be perishable. Okay, look for sales and coupons on frequently used shelf-stable superfoods like quinoa, chia seeds, and nuts. And in terms of preparation strategies, meal planning and preparation strategies, coming down to the actual preparation, cooking, and storage. Efficient preparation is key to incorporating superfoods into your meals. I suggest dedicating a specific day of the week for meal prep, whatever works with your schedule, etc. For a lot of people, Sunday is that day where they can do washing and chopping of veggies and cooking grains and preparing proteins. It's good to focus actually on the foods, the superfoods that may take longer to cook, such as some whole grains and legumes, and get those prepared ahead of time. Also preparing staple superfoods that can be easily added to meals throughout the week. So like washing certain greens and for salads and chopping fruit and things of that nature. And also suggest using reusable containers for storing prepped superfoods that you would be adding to meals. Now, to maximize the nutritional benefits and shelf life of our superfoods, if larger portions of these superfoods, superfood rich meals are prepared, make sure that you freeze the extras kind of immediately after it's gone through its cooling period to freeze it. And be sure to label and to date so that you'll know what to pull out when. And it also helps to fill those days for which you don't have a particular meal prepped for. Use creative ways to incorporate superfood leftovers into new meals to reduce food waste. So that's what I was actually saying as well in my first point there. And for foods that can get rancid, some superfoods such as nuts and seeds, if you have them in bulk and you would not be using them right away, they can be stored in the freezer to prevent spoilage and to maintain freshness. So this is where I would like to open the floor to any questions for both Lindsay and for myself.
Thanks so much, Lorna. Just such valuable information. I find, I learn something every time I hear you go through this. So thanks for all of the contribution here.
Thank you.
I, Lorna, I shared, I was pulling out some of the questions that I saw folks asking. I shared that in our Slack channel, so you can see those. Let me pull that up.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So I can take one. I just want to reiterate something that someone in the chat actually suggested. They mentioned that they take turmeric with black pepper along with coconut oil as like a little mixture in the mornings.
Mhm.
I just want to touch on the benefit of black pepper and combining that with turmeric. So we mentioned the property of turmeric that is really beneficial. It's called curcumin. There
Mhm.
is a chemical in black pepper called pepperdyne that helps with the absorption of curcumin. Like I think the person said 1,000 times. I don't have that statistic off the top of my head, but it's considerable, and it really helps you get the benefits out of turmeric. So that's a really great idea. I find when you're cooking with turmeric, or if you put a little teaspoon in your smoothie or your oatmeal or a soup or a curry, just making sure you're including black pepper, and that will do the trick just fine. So, just a helpful note to make sure you get the most out of the superfood.
Mhm. Great.
Yeah. Are you able to see the questions, Lorna?
Okay, um I saw one here. What can we do to radishes to make them tastier? Um, Definitely you can spice them up a bit. Um, a lot of plain vegetables the taste can be enhanced by mixing them with other things, cutting up, chopping some red bell pepper and other things along with it, or green bell pepper, adding a little bit of garlic, onions actually, and you can caramelize. The onions caramelize very easily on the stove top. So in a pan, you can do them that way. There's so many creative ways, but I would say spicing them up, and it really depends on your taste. But there's so many natural spices. Some of those herbs I talked about, as a little sprinkle here and there. And I don't really recommend the powders that we buy in the store so much. I think actually when we use the natural varieties, it enhances taste and flavor so much more. So again, just experiment. Do some experimentation. Based on your own taste, and that would be a way to kind of bring up those radishes.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I had no idea about that. So again, I learned something there too. I know we're over time a bit. Let's take two questions quickly. I will do. So someone asked about this is sort of a multifaceted question, but they said they had a food sensitivity test. Garlic
Mhm.
was off limits for them, and they just expressed that it's really difficult for them to eat with so many limitations, and whether food sensitivity tests are valid. Um, so I just wanted to touch on that quickly, just because it relates
Mhm.
to another topic that we've shared a lot of information on. Um, one of the things, and another question they asked as a part of this was like, is there a way to desensitize yourself to some of these foods? So
Mhm.
when we're thinking about emerging research, food
Mhm.
sensitivity tests fall into that category. There's some things that we know a little bit about, but I would also very much lean on like your own experience and how you're feeling when you're eating certain things rather than only relying on kind of a test to tell you whether something is good or bad. So if you feel great eating garlic, and it's okay, by your doctor, your dietitian, obviously, go with how you feel. If that's not, something that you're able to tolerate, just going back to the idea that we're really talking about total dietary patterns. So Lorna shared a bunch of superfoods, and that wasn't even a comprehensive list. So there are other ways to get a lot of the things that you might find in a single food. Garlic is a little bit unique with the component allicin, but
Mhm.
Yeah, I think just focusing on the foods that you are able to eat and making sure you're pursuing, again, a colorful plate, all of your different macronutrients, a balanced diet, enough protein, like Lorna talked about, is a really good thing to focus on. And then just another thing around desensitizing yourself to things that you're maybe sensitive to, supporting your gut health. So really focusing on the lining of your gut. Sometimes if we have something called leaky gut, that can enhance the types of food, the amount of foods that we're sensitive to, because it does what it says. It kind of gets things that are meant to stay inside of your gut don't always when you have this condition. And so doing things that strengthen your digestive barrier. So that can be eating a fiber-rich diet. It can also be eating things that are kind of mucilaginous. So think like okra, oats, things that have a little bit of like it's kind of gross, but slimy effect to them. It actually is really soothing and lines your gut and can help just restore that gut barrier there, which can in turn help you be less sensitive to certain foods. So a couple things to try.
And I just wanted to end. I noticed someone mentioned about having nut and sunflower allergy and, recommendations on getting healthy fats. But there are so many other healthy fats that can be consumed. Healthy fats contained in avocado, in things like salmon, etc., and some of those fatty type fish. Yes, I know you would miss some of the benefit from of the fiber, etc., from the nuts and seeds. But of the categories that I did go over, you can actually find adequate replacements from among those categories. So I don't think that it would put you at that great a disadvantage, not being able to consume nuts and sunflower seeds specifically.
Yep, I would agree. Great. All right. Well, I think that's all the time that we have. I see a lot of questions asking about whether the recording will be shared. It will. We will always send a follow-up email to everyone who registered for this webinar. We will include a link to the recording, and then we'll also link the appendix links that Lorna referenced related to recipes. So thank you so much for attending. I hope you guys learned something. Thank you, Lorna, for sharing all of your knowledge and wisdom. And yeah, we have a webinar every month, so stay tuned and come back for our August webinar. Thank you guys.
Thank you.